Hola and buenos dias, GnGs. Buenos noches, buenos tardes. Um, hey, what's going on? What up? Hello and good evening. Hello and good night. All of those things and greetings, right? I say this respectfully. Just kind of annoyed right now. I did the whole episode thing before and the mic ended up doing something, and so none of my audio was there. So re-recording, and hopefully this time I get to say all of the points that I was trying to remember in the beginning, but I didn't. Um, I'm sorry. By the way, I am Trekkw2ks. This is Weekend Crypto, and the basic idea is that I go over the weekend news that happens between like a Friday evening and a Sunday um evening and pop it out 08 Monday morning before the live stream and before the Stack Bros, right? So yeah, that's what the show is, but just I'm tired. I'm kind of annoyed at the simple mistake that I did, make. But anywho, I do want to say gratitudes and platitudes to the folks who do continue to follow. I know I don't do the live stream numbers as far as, King and Zay, but I do appreciate the folks who do tap in, the folks who do check it out later, the folks who do leave comments, the folks who do ask questions, the folks who give me words of encouragement to keep doing this. Cause like it's one of those things where it's like I've tried to move away from being a content person. I promise you I've tried. But things just always kind of work to bring me back to this thing. And so as it is, I am not a functional coder. I am not a a trader, like, but I've been in the space long enough. I see some patterns, I see some trends, I call some things, and sometimes they play out like how I've been saying. Or I try to give people the heads up. I try to educate and put some things in context. Not saying it's always how I see it, but depending on what kind of circles you operate in, it might be relevant to what you're trying to do. Just saying. But nonetheless, I appreciate and thank you. So let's jump into these stories. Right now, why is that showing like that? Anywho, so first story here, I gotta say, when I first seen this, I had to count the zeros just to make sure I was seeing this right. This is $1 trillion. So, $1 trillion has likely exited U.S. banking system as America risks global economic isolation, says Hank Paul. If you don't know who Hank Paul is, I didn't know who Hank Paulson, sorry, excuse me, was. So basically, he's a former U.S. Secretary, Treasury Secretary Hank Paulson believes panic in the banking sector is not over, and the first recession since 2007 is inevitable. Thing to note: when they give you this big ass number right here, I don't know where they actually pulled this from. What I think is that he had a whole nother conversation. They picked cherry picked out quotables from him. And so oh yeah, interview with the Financial Times. Sorry, there you go. Now he might have mentioned that whole $1 trillion number. I doubt they even know what the actual hard number is. He's probably just throwing out an estimate. It might be, 2 digits over. It might be in the tens, not just the ones, as far as like 5,000, 3 trillion, 2 trillion, 1 trillion. It might be a double digit trillion number. We don't really know how much is out there. Don't let folks tell you it's 100% all accountable. It's not. Um, the point to this though is that you always got to look at the timing of these things when they come out, and then like as I've said for as long as I've been doing this, which I just realized like is over a year now. I didn't even realize like that much time has gone. And here we are, right? You see the patterns and trends and how the articles go and how the quotables are chosen and how they're framed using the title or the subcaption. And so in this regard, it's just like this isn't even a conversation about the crypto side of it. This is talking about business, bilateral trade, government level stuff. The big boys, the big banking systems, they're not putting out the loans and all that stuff like they used to, but people are still like, oh, we see what the US government is doing with the USD. So is it really safe to continue to do business in that? And if we are able to get capital from an American banking system, do we stay in it? which is the basic bottom line of what's being put here. So arguably, and I've been saying this for a hot minute, capital flight control is being put into place in different parts of the financial system, in different jurisdictions. Things are being done to cross into different countries. So what China was doing to its local people, the stuff that was going on in Canada a couple years ago, the stuff that's going on now here in the US, I've been talking about it for how long? Capital flight control, it's a thing. They call it different names, but if it restricts how you hold your funds, where you can move your funds, how you can move or transfer the assets that you have and their value, it's a capital flight control. I promise you. It might have a different name though. But nonetheless, Paulson predicts transitional forms of borrowing and lending will shift outside of regulated banking systems, which will spark further uncertainty and potential panic. What he's saying in this line right here with these three words, regulated banking system, is that it's not going to be us as the Western powers or Western interests being the dominant controlling entity in how the funds and the money is going to circulate. Well, we got to make it sound like it's a questionable, sketchy. Oh, well, you can't trust what the Chinese is doing. You can't trust the Russians. But like all of that throwing shade, that throwing tea, being 100% cap, and even for the way this person is writing the article, it's cap 100%. But you can't say that, right? So you use other words in a sense to convey doubt and questionability of if it ain't us doing it, you can't trust it. Like realize this is the pot calling the kettle black, y'all. I'm just saying. If America goes too far in curtailing trade and investment with China, and we go far beyond what our allies and partners want to do, the result will be to isolate the US. In case you have not paid attention to what is going on outside of the US, a number of the bigger and smaller countries already think we have gone too far. And when I say we, I mean the government that represents us outside of the US and the bilateral trades and things like that. We have definitely, as they see it, gone too far. And these different countries have been doing things to make sure they can insulate or get away from our financial influence. Case in point, I had covered this story a while ago, and I still haven't seen anybody talk about this shit. Venezuela was selling oil for crypto, and the US came in and gang shoulder tap the shit out of them to the point where they cleaned house on the whole department that was dealing with crypto. Let me get up close about this. They cleaned house on the whole department that was dealing with crypto and then put somebody else in who basically cut the whole program off and all of the other stuff they was trying to do to make it more fall into the traditional banking side, which brings it back to where you figure that part out. If you don't get where I'm going, you can Google it. I promise you. As I say, we keep receipts. So if I'm saying something that's like left field or you don't agree or blah blah, hey, the comments is always open. I appreciate folks who disagree with me. I appreciate folks who make me think more or put me onto some information that I was not aware of. Assuming that you put me onto something that I was not aware of. I'm not saying I know everything, but I do feel like I try to understand X amount more going on in this space outside of the tech part. But anywho, the point being is that that's the conversation that's being put out there right now. And then you got the whole thing going on with the BRICS. It's not a crypto conversation per se. What I think that they kind of fall short on in this particular article, even though it's focused on Paulson, is making the correlation between where the crypto part of it is related to the bigger economy and how the capital flight stuff, whether you're me and you level person, everyday average Joe versus a larger company such as a conglomerate like Google, Apple, or one of those. Yeah, it's a difference in scale of like what we trying to move is our wealth, if we have any, but at the same time, it's still the same thing of people are going to look to find ways to get out of our system of the USD. That's it. All right, jumping on to this next thing. So Uniswap DAO approves proposal to deploy V3 on Polygon ZK-EVM. The basic idea behind this, I'm not gonna go through and read all of the highlights and stuff. Again, I had did this the first time and I'm so annoyed with myself. But the basic idea is this. They put the vote out there. Apparently enough of the user base voted to say, yes, let's do this. And the basic idea is this. So there's a couple of things to understand about what's going on in this technology integration. You have the ZK, which is zero knowledge proof, which allows for transactions to happen, but it allows you to also keep X amount of the information anonymous or private. We'll use those words interchangeably in this particular context. And so the idea behind it is that you have the roll up, which is that X amount of the validation that goes on in the transaction as like this movement of value between ledger A and B happen, aka wallet A and wallet B, will be validated off chain, and then the end result of the final tally of taking out from one and then putting value into the other will be put on chain without opening certain privacy things, such as that information that can identify the user or the wallet, really more say. So that happens. There's a couple of things that got me about this. One main thing being that over 40 million unique addresses voted on this and zero. And I imagine there has to be at least over 50,000 unique wallet addresses. And you're telling me that not one user voted against this? It doesn't make sense for me, just for how human nature works in large voting community voting situations. I'm not saying the math don't math to me, y'all. I'm not even gonna fucking cap on that one. The math don't math to me, but they saying that 42.4 million votes in support of this, and not one person voted against it. So that to me is just like, oh, so you really mean all of the speculators who don't necessarily understand all of the risk that this integration could potentially bring into the EVM ecosystem. Okay, it is what it is. I've seen it happen in other chains. Look at what Helium did. Y'all been so disappointing to me. It's a shame, I swear. But anywho, yeah, so that's that right there. Jumping over to this next thing, this story kind of surprised me. Another thing that I thought was kind of interesting for what came out this weekend between, the couple of days that I was looking at stuff, I didn't really see any hack stories or any like crazy price speculation stories. And like a lot of, talk around Bitcoin, yeah, but like I didn't see any other, or at least for how I was looking at stuff. But nonetheless, this did pop up on the radar, which was that Blockchain Association shows support for banned Tornado Cash in new amicus, yeah, I'm saying that right, amicus brief filing. So they basically went to the courts at the federal level in regards to the OFAC situation, of where OFAC is the Office of Foreign Assets Controls, and I've been telling y'all about that for damn near 2 years now, since the OFAC report dropped, because they said what they were going to do to the blockchain crypto space, and particularly on the crypto space. They said it. It was public in writing. They published it in 21. Okay. So the point being is that they basically went to bat for Tornado Cash, saying, hey, this is a tool. It doesn't make sense that you ban a tool. You go after the people who use the tool to do, quote, bad or, malice things. Here's the parallel. We know that people use USD to buy illicit drugs. We know that people use USD to purchase other younger human beings, right? We know this. You go into major city airports, you hear an announcement over the thing all the time about human, the T word, right? The point being is that we don't ban the USD. What do? We go after the people who are doing it. It's the same situation here. I don't know how much gravity this is going to have in the court case. For large part, what I think the OFAC is doing and the Treasury itself is doing is we can go out there and do all types of craziness for how we're going to argue we have authority over shit until the Congress folks make a clear rule that says no, but that's not what's going to happen. They still over here twiddling their thumbs and waiting for X amount of folks in the traditional finance industry to make or lobby and give them certain bills to push. That's part of what's going on. And then the other part of it is, and I've been saying this for a minute now, Biden's executive order was the dog whistle to all of the different agencies. Start doing what y'all do. And you can hold it up in so much legal limbo that by the time it gets cleared away, people are going to be X amount used to how these agencies are sticking their hands in people's pockets and sticking their thumbs in people's eyes. That's just my thought process on it. Remember, I'm just some dude on the internet, been around for a little minute. I'm not saying I'm the super know-it-all, but I've seen certain trends, patterns, and indicators. And, people are people, man. I'm just saying, especially when you look at them as far as bureaucrats, and like no government comes up with rules to limit itself continually. Like if you notice how government works, it always increases. It doesn't decrease. Just saying. All right, jumping on to this next joint. Privacy threat. Ethereum staking can disclose users' IP address information. So the short thing of this is, where are you at? Where are you at? Okay. So if I remember it right, Ethereum staking with Tom Bosky. No, where is it? Ooh. Okay, here, Justin Drake. So Justin Drake is a researcher from the Ethereum Foundation. He's on the Bankless podcast. There's a question around something about data. So he says there's a lot of metadata. You can look at deposit addresses, you can look at withdrawal addresses, you can look at fee receipts, you can look at IP addresses. This is in the metadata. If you are a technical person doing anything related to smart contracts in the EVM ecosystem, you already knew this. This is not new news. I need to put that in context. This is not new news as far as like what this article is reporting. The techie people already knew this. I will give a props to the author who wrote the article, because like if you're getting into this validation thing, being a validator in the Ethereum ecosystem, for those doing the whole proof of stake thing, he does give some things about how you can use VPNs or how there's proxy IP servers, but there's like kind of pros and cons to it. So if you're not a techie person and you want to get into it, make sure you find somebody who actually understands the tech and who can clearly explain to you the pros and cons of what happens when you have public IP addresses versus a proxy or a VPN integrate technology integration into how you're connecting in as a validator into the system. If you don't know what staking is, it's basically where you have to use your crypto as collateral to be a part of the validation network that makes the consensus thing happen. Other thing to note in this situation, that there's a thing of what is your actual risk worry? Is it about a hacker getting you and extorting your validator somehow? Or is it about law enforcement or a government agency coming in and being like, oh, you can't do those transactions going to that address anymore? Or you need to monitor this, or you need to reroute it to what we're telling you to reroute it to. I don't know what your risk factor is if you're into this thing, but do your homework, do your research. Again, this is not new news. It's only, I think, making the headlines because he was on bank lists and he just happened to say the shit in like passer conversation as far as them asking him a question about something. That's it. Jumping on to this next joint. Arizona governor shuts down bill favoring crypto. I was like, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Mining industry. A couple of things to think about in regards to this article when I came across it. One, I feel like if this is one of those AI generated things, they could have did something better. They should have did some shit like the figure of the governor sitting at the table and then like pushing the fucking miner off the table into the trash can or something, or some shit like what's the movie where it's like, show me the money, and I'm gonna tell you why. Yo, if King read this article, he was I'm gonna say I'm 99% sure he would see what I'm seeing in this. So here's how I go. Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs says she vetoed legislation that would prohibit municipalities from taxing residential cryptocurrency mining operations. I'm gonna read what she wrote in her veto letter. The bill broadly defines blockchain technologies and prevents local policymaking concerning an emergent and potentially energy-intensive economic activity. Two things actually. One, she doesn't know what she's talking about at a technical level. She only knows what her advisors are telling her. And then there's probably also somebody from some related industries, might be the energy industry, the tax department, are like, yo, nah, this might not be a good look for us because now getting to the second part. I look forward to working with legislators to find a bipartisan solution that supports thriving economy and technological innovation while engaging local stakeholders to create comprehensive and forward-thinking solutions. The bill fails to meet that standard. Now, let me jump into something here. The senator from the state who put this in is named Wendy Rogers, right? I don't know Wendy Rogers. Apparently, she's a Republican. She's also been pushing some other pro crypto blockchain related things. Here's one of the bills, as far as at least a line that what the bill was supposed to be about, that was like, nah, that's not gonna get pushed neither. A city or town may not impose a tax, and it's supposed to be the word fee, on any person or entity running a node on blockchain technology in a residence. So when you read that line and then go back to what, let me jump up on this, and then you go back to what the governor says, here's the situation. The industry and the market and the businesses and the not geopolitical, but the bureaucratic stuff that's going on at city level, county level, state level. Everyone's trying to figure out, how do we eat off of this new industry that will eventually take some hold in our neck of the woods, in our jurisdiction? Are we going to implement a fee? Are we going to require a certain level of what's the thing called, not expectation, where you have to get a licensed professional from either the state or the city inspections? So are we going to have to do state level or city level inspections in order for you to be able to put a miner in your house? And we only talking about the hardware side stuff, as far as like ant miners or using like GPUs or shit, depending on what you're doing, being on the CPU, or even depending on what you're doing stuff on dummy phones, right? Or just on a smartphone. Now imagine I'm doing mining. I'm not doing ASIC miner level mining. How do you tax me on that? Well, I somehow get you to volunteer that you let me know you're doing mining. You let me know what your gains are. And I'm like, well, this is how much you owe me. What's going on here is she's not down for it because they haven't figured out how they can get the money at the city level, county level, and state level, if that really does proliferate in the state of people getting into mining. Somebody's gonna be like, you could do this in the comments if you want to, about that whole energy consumption thing. if you've been around, you already know we ain't even about that argument, and we'll shut that down real quick. But if you think I'm wrong, comments is always open. I do appreciate the engagement. Do know though, we don't delete, but we do keep receipts, so you will get some clapback on that one. Nonetheless, that's what's going on over in Arkansas, and I don't know if that's going to change, in the coming next voting cycle for them. Who knows? But I think this situation in relation to them, they're not going to be the only state dealing with this. Sorry, Arizona. My bad, y'all. Arizona. They're not going to be the only state dealing with this. So, be prepared to see these type of legislative bills popping up in other areas. That's my point. And depending on where the states depend how am I gonna say this? I would argue depending on how people see economic sovereignty and digital agency, some people are going to be in favor of it. For the people who are, oh, that was my other thing about this. Crypto mining as proof of work is not on the green wave. And for the folks who be like, oh, well, proof of stake is better for the environment. Bullshit. That means you don't know how proof of stake works. As far as case in point, this whole roll-up thing. If you have X amount of the activity related to validations and stuff happening off chain, you still using servers, you still using energy, you're still consuming that sector of technology compared to mining, which is a continually, and Zay did a post over the weekend, and I responded about this whole thing, and he was making that point of like, somebody's arguing about how back in 2020 or 2019, proof of work, Bitcoin consumed this amount of electricity to the comparison of a state, Argentina. Most mofos don't even know where Argentina is on the different the South American landmass, right? And then on top of it, most folks don't even understand how much of that landmass is populated by people. Like where it's a actually valid energy consumption for how much is there. Not to mention the technology has changed a hell of a lot from 2020, 2019 to where we are in 2023. And I say that to say the proof of work thing drives for finding more efficient ways to use energy. You can't quote numbers from 3 years ago and fit them into the argument of today because the technology ain't at the same it ain't at the same place. The energy consumption is not at the same place. We have more ideas now on how to integrate green energy, quote green energy, into crypto mining. Bottom line is the shit annoys me, and so sorry for getting worked up. End of the day, Arizona's trying to figure out how to make sure the whole gang at the various levels can get their cut of the pie. That's it. That's it. Jumping on to this next joint. Cardano game-changing innovation. Akian is live in alpha phase. So, okay, so I'm gonna really run short with this one. The basic idea is that a new software or building toolkit that would work with core Cardano smart contracts was created called Akian. I don't know why it keeps in my mind sounding to me like AI Ken, but I don't know how the hell to pronounce it. But that's what this whole article about is that came out this weekend, which is a good thing because now it allows developers who are not Cardano natives into the Cardano ecosystem and building the smart contracts and functions and all that. It now allows them to have an easier way of integrating what is it other kind of abilities into the smart contracts, because basically it's like what is the name of the language? It was Haskell Plutus platform. Is folks are like, yo, this is mad hard, and it's kind of clunky and blah blah blah. Now, is this going to be a pump for Cardano? I have no clue. Is this going to be a good thing for the technical development and all the stuff that they was talking about they're going to do in Africa and Latin America? Who knows? Maybe. Is this going to open them up for some new level of hacks? I'm going to say it's a 50-50, right? Because they still, well, at least according to this, they still have to do some audits to ensure that it meets the standards to be able to work at like enterprise level. So it's going to be some bumps and bruises along the way. But if you're a Cardano fan and you really believe in all the stuff that, Charles be spitting, you see this as a good thing and you know that this is going to lead to some great things. I don't know that, but you might believe that. And I'll leave that there. Last thing to note, I'm gonna throw this one out there only because I found it within one of the crypto sites that I end up looking at, through the arbitrage news stuff, is that it was a thing about ChatGTP, and if you are not in the, if you're more on the techie side of things, if you've been engaging with me in the lives, or we've talked on any other thing, and you follow my stuff, I'm about the tech side of it. So if you're interested in this, it's called How Anyone Can Jailbreak ChatGTP with these top 4 methods. Um, I'm really curious as to what the end of this year is going to look like for how fast this chat GTP element is developing. Because like in all real, for the number of plugins that are available now, for the whole chaos GTP, for the whole auto GTP, baby GTP, like it's reminding me of the staking farming era that we had like in that the pre C19 period. It reminds me of the forking era we went through in like that 2016 into 18 period, where somebody's just throwing out this whole thing of this technology, and people are going to be able to fork and do the left, right, and whatever they want to do with it, and you don't even got a code. What? Bottom line is, if you interested in it on that level, I'm throwing this one in there as an extra. Link for this will be in the description. You can definitely look through it when you're ready to, and you could, cross-reference it with some other YouTube stuff. And I'm telling you, like, this this GTP thing and the stuff that's going on, and how folks are just going through rapid iteration and trying to figure out how to manipulate and do X, Y, and Z, it's a beast. And it's funny enough, the episode that just dropped last week from Metaverse is the Other Side was about the movie Free Guy, which is about an avatar in the game becoming self-conscious, being aware, and it was written in the code. It's a whole turning the AI thing into like a self-conscious thing. But anywho, we broke that down this weekend passing, which is funny because we actually had the conversation like a couple months ago. That was when we actually recorded the thing, and then lo and behold, it feels right in to this whole situation, a conversation going on about auto GTP and like the what can you do with AI and metaverses, and yeah, it's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Definitely check us out on the Metaverse is the Other Side, which is me and 3D, where we talk about the more, again, techie side. Like if you're on the price talk stuff, if you on that whole coins and we not for you. No cap, we just not for you. If you into the techie side, you want to explore some creative ideas and stuff. You want to talk about potential ways you could like do. Yo, we was having a conversation about doing pop-up metaverses. I'm gonna say it again: pop-up metaverses. If you know what a pop-up shop is, think about what happens when you can do that with a metaverse. But anywho, as I say, hashtag we're not tourists, aka we are not grifters. And I'm gonna leave that one on there. So as I close it out to say, I'm Trekkw2ks. What is it? Metaverse is the Other Side. Oh, we're moving the Friday play into the weekend on Saturdays, because I had X number of people, coming to me saying that, hey, it comes on too late. So earlier in the day, looking at like the 12 o'clock-ish timeline, and we'll see if the weekend works out better for folks, and hopefully it'll get us some more people watching. On behalf of me and 3D, thank y'all for the folks who are tapping in to the Metaverse is the Other Side. And as usual, thank y'all for tapping into Weekend Crypto, which is this one. It's a Monday. Hopefully, y'all have a productive over busy day. If not being a productive day, at least be in a safe place, in a safe space, and in good company. As a human, to the other humans out there, that is like the most basic, best thing that I could wish for all of y'all. And hopefully it work out for like that in the minimalist of things. And other than that, like, yeah, I'm done, y'all. One.